Hey, good morning everyone. Nurse Derek and Dr. Kim here.
Hello.
Having a good day.
Leaky gut syndrome.
Why we're doing this, and it's such a problem of people thinking they're gluten intolerant or they have celiac, not to mention all the other obvious gut problems like diverticulitis or irritable bowel or Crohn's disease. But there's more and more research coming out these days that is showing more and more evidence, scientific evidence, that our guts are massively important to our overall health, and that is heart health and gut health and brain health. And part of the problem is this phenomenon known as leaky gut syndrome. And luckily Dr. Kim's here today, so we can ask her some questions. Dr. Kim!
Hello.
What is leaky gut syndrome?
You are so much better at describing it than I am.
So, there's a couple of mechanisms. Basically, any saturated fat will cause inflammation in the lining of the gut. When this happens for a long enough period of time, our gut starts to look a little ugly and a little more wrinkly than we should look, along with some gaps in between the individual cells. And this opening of these gaps actually will allow our natural bacteria in our gut to get through, as well as protein. So, wheat protein wouldn't necessarily get through your gut lining unless it's broken down properly. But if that hasn't been broken down and it gets to your lower intestine and it is absorbed, then you can certainly start exhibiting symptoms very similar to celiac disease, true celiac disease, which is actually very rare. And that's why so many people are having gut problems when they're eating wheat. It's not that they're truly have celiac, they're truly gluten intolerant. It's just these proteins are getting into the system where they shouldn't and causing this inflammatory reaction.
And our bodies then fight those proteins thinking they're not endogenous and they need to fight them. And so
Endogenous, what does that mean?
part of our system.
Oh,
Normal part of our system.
there you go. That's why you do 12 years of medical school.
We're going to need to
Oh,
do
really?
this again.
I might edit that out, I may not. Anyway, and then that's the other thing. Once these gaps start opening up, the actual bacteria in our gut, and we have trillions of them, and they're the things that keep us healthy, can also migrate into our bloodstream. And that's a really good trigger if you have a propensity towards anything like lupus or any of the other autoimmune diseases. Our body just simply loses the ability to recognize foreign versus, what was that word again, Dr. Scheuer? Endogenous pieces of us that should be there. So,
You do realize we do have to go home and check to make sure that that's the correct meaning of the word.
you're the one that used the word.
I know.
Fine. So what can we do to make our gut as healthy as possible? Not eat saturated fat. Where do you find saturated fat? Dr.
In
Scheuer.
animal products.
Animal products?
In animal products.
What about avocado? That's fatty.
Yeah, but that's not saturated fat. Now, the only plant form of saturated fat that you should be a little concerned about is coconut.
Ah.
So people
So
say,
everyone's loving coconut in their coffee.
I know.
Everyone's loving coconut to cook in.
So coconut oils and coconut milks actually are very high in saturated fats, which can cause some problems, including increasing cholesterol and heart disease. So I'd be careful of that. Use it on your body, but not in your body. Coconut water, however, is fine. That has a good mix of electrolytes. If you want to use that, it doesn't have a saturated fat.
Yeah, interesting. So, you can reseed your gut
Yes.
simply by eating
Fiber!
fiber.
Fiber, because the good bacteria in your gut lives off of fiber.
But what about protein? What
It's
high
protein deficiency in the United States, and people get appropriate calories.
What high protein, high fiber, life extending wonder food that makes music?
That makes music. Lentils and beans?
Lentils and beans.
Yum, we love
Proven
lentils and beans.
to extend life. Get you your protein, get you your fiber, and a great slow carb. So, beans and rice is an ideal meal.
Yes, but whole grain rices and lentils and beans, like beans, are wonderful because they have second pass effects where you eat them now, and even in at the future meals, they're still working.
I'm sorry, second what effect?
There's a second pass effect in the
Oh,
gut.
pass. So,
Or second meal effect.
second meal effect. Okay.
Second meal effect.
Excellent.
Where actually they take down your
Appetite.
They take down your appetite. They also decrease your insulin spikes if you eat in the future meals.
So that would be a really good food for type 2 and type 1 diabetics?
Absolutely.
Nice. And metabolic syndrome patients?
Absolutely.
Fabulous. Dr. Shoya, thank you so much for joining me today on this hike.
It's a great time with you, Derek Olson, nurse and coach extraordinaire.
Drop and give me 20. Have a good day.